Hi, this is Curt, and welcome to another edition of Fire Law Roundup.
Feelings one way or the other, but okay, so let's go back to Kansas City because this is just
get away from this one.
And it's so interesting, but now we're kind of wrapping it up, right? I think so. Here, just so everybody knows, there was a Kansas City driver of a fire truck and engine, and he was allegedly going through I shouldn't say allegedly anymore. I guess that criminal courts and everything has found what he's done, but he went through an intersection known to be dangerous. Allegedly had his lights and sirens on. Other cars yielded, but then he blows through it and ultimately gets into an accident. Allegedly high rate of speed or too high for that intersection. He ends up killing 3 people. This is a whole civil saga, and now we have the criminal saga where he has now pled guilty to 3 counts of involuntary manslaughter. I think, look, we could talk about the whole plea, but let's get the point of this. The point of this is, this is not necessarily state specific. I would assert that there's no criminal immunity probably in most states, right? I can't imagine in any state there being criminal immunity to a firefighter who operates dangerously, and then you kill somebody where the news media and the public and the families are going to want a head, and the driver's going to be, that head. It could be the officer too, frankly, but a head is going to roll. And here now he's pled to involuntary manslaughter. And look, I forget was this a car accident? What was he responding to? Do you recall?
It was a building fire, but there's actually some more complexity in this one because they were dispatched. Apparently there was a lot of storms or whatever. There was some weather related incidents coming in. Report of a building fire in another engine's district or another area. They were initially dispatched, and then the unit that was closer called available, and dispatch sent them and tried to cancel this particular pumper. So there was some sort of a thing. Billy Goldfeder has quite a bit of information on this as well. So,
and I know there was a question of whether he heard the cancellation or not. But really, I look at, there's an officer in the vehicle too. And what did the officer hear? What did the officer say? What did the officer direct?
Yeah.
If they were canceled, it does change everything if they're still responding. But
I think one of the things I think is interesting with this one is whenever we have involuntary manslaughter, it kind of brings to mind the criminal mental state. And, homicide is sort of the generic category of crimes where someone dies. And murder obviously has got to have, intent or knowledge that your act is going to lead to someone's death. So right. Murder wouldn't be appropriate here. We looked at the recent case of the 2 Illinois medics that are possibly facing murder charges, and that makes a little bit more sense there. But it wouldn't be murder here because they didn't intend to hit the vehicles or intend to hurt someone. Right. The next sort of layer down, and I kind of draw the analogy to Dante's Inferno, where we keep getting deeper and deeper into hell. And the next level down, I guess, or you could say the next level up from the bottom. If intentional acts are like the deepest part of hell, right. The next level up would be recklessness, and recklessness is consciously disregarding a known and substantial risk of harm. So that's really what he's looking at. The next one would be a negligent state of mind. Criminal negligence, which the civil equivalent of gross negligence, which is a gross deviation from the reasonably prudent person standard. So right here, I think his attorneys are looking at, or the prosecutors as well are looking at, did he consciously disregard a known and substantial risk of harm?
And they pointed out how dangerous the intersection was, that he should have known or knew the intersection was dangerous. Yeah. A lot of factors went into that, what he knew or should have known.
Yeah. So I think it's helpful for firefighters. And I know I drive a little differently today than I did when I was, 22.
Yeah. It's not your first fire when you're going to your first fire, right? You're like, it'll still be burning when I get there. No need to kill anybody.
I haven't seen one yet that hasn't gone out. So,
But what's interesting is the penalties, the criminal penalties are so minor, right? I mean, 3 years of probation, okay, that's somewhat, but can't possess a firearm and 40 hours of community service, which is almost a slap to the victims if you believe he should have been guilty. Yeah. But
I don't know of any other state that doesn't require jail time for involuntary manslaughter. You'd have to go to like the next less serious offense in order to get a probation type of thing, some sort of negligent homicide or something of that nature.
Right.
But that is pretty light, in my opinion, for involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying, we're not saying that you should or shouldn't have, pled or whatever.
The law, if that's on the discretion of the judge, it's on the discretion of the judge, and every state is a little bit different, when it comes to sentencing guidelines and so on. But if the judge has the legal ability to grant that, then that's what it is. I mean, let's face it. He got up, as careless as he may have been, he got up that morning going to work to try to help people. Right. He wasn't trying to rob a bank. He wasn't speeding with a bunch of his buddies. He got up trying to help people. He may not have done a good job of it, and may have risked people's lives in the process of doing it. But he didn't set out to hurt anyone.
Right, and he was responding to a legitimate event. He wasn't, apparently going for overhaul, right? I mean, at least until the point he may have been canceled, he was believing that he was speeding. But, I think to all our points is you don't want to put people at risk along the way before you get to help the people.
He still is going to be a felon. What I mean? I mean, I want to be sympathetic to him and explain why maybe probation might be appropriate here. But nonetheless, you killed 3 people.
Yeah.
You're responsible for killing 3 people. And there's, unfortunately, for everyone involved, no winners here, but there has to be some sort of consequences to that, unless you were blame free. If it really wasn't your fault, then that's a different story as well.
But I think every firefighter across the nation should pay heed that, this isn't like one of those state specific cases that ultimately or often we have. This could be any state. And they'll go after you.
It's not an isolated case. Last time I did the numbers, I have somewhere 16 to 20 different cases where firefighters have been either charged or convicted of involuntary manslaughter under very similar circumstances.
Yeah. So, drive like everybody's life depends on it, right?